Welcome to Pax Europiana, again from Schönbrunn, my sunset talks and talking about peace in Europe. And again, Serbia is threatening our peace in Europe. It's very dramatic. We are now today on the 1st of August 2022, and again, at a minor and very well announced step of the Kosovo administration and politics, which they ultimately have anyhow postponed, simply to treat Kosovo completely as a state. Serbia has threatened war. Of course they cannot do it. I know that, Mr. Bachev and everybody, I know that they cannot do it. But imagine, by the smallest issue where Kosovo, the Republic of Kosovo, which we all have recognized, also Bulgaria, Austria, Germany and America, the logic of Mr. Vucic is to go to escalation and to make it a big crisis. Because let's come back to the facts. What exactly has happened? Kosovo has declared independence 2008. Yes, and we have accepted it. That means most of the West, with some very peculiar exemptions. Hello Spain, Slovakia, Romania and Greece and all the others. And I'm also very angry about Ukraine for not having recognized, and Moldova, Georgia and others. But over 100 countries have, and it's an independent country now, and it has the territorial sovereignty above all the country. In the north there's a small group, and it's about 50,000 people, which have this kind of territorial cohesion and connectivity with the north, and they think they can have their own little statelet of criminality, gangsterdom. And I know many people up there, and they told me how it is. We have allowed, since 2008, due to the pressure of Serbia, allow some kind of lawless territory. That's very unfortunate, because a lot of smuggling, organized criminality, drug trade, if you look for issues, then you find it in the north of Kosovo. And I know very well, because I've worked there, and it's a big problem. Not the biggest expert on the north of Kosovo, there might be others who have spent more times there, but I've just recently been there again. You have seen it maybe on my podcast, you can see my videos. And allowing lawlessness and kind of vacuum, it was never a very good idea. In 2011, then Kosovo authority and the international authority was again imposed, and it was a big crisis, I remember very well. I was driving still with Kosovo number plates from Montenegro in the summer beach on the 5th of July in Montenegro. They were kind of upset. But it was a good step, and that was the right thing to do. And now what is the whole thing since September 2021, and actually some years before, because it's about imposing reciprocity. That means that the two countries have to treat each other equally, recognize the customs stamp, recognize the border controls, and treating each other simply in a normal context of a normal country. And unfortunately, to this very day, this is not happening. And it's not happening on the beauty of the responsibility of Serbia. This is the problem. And it was always the problem all the time. And we are now in this crisis only for that. And it's completely without any reason what the Serb authorities insist on doing. Because there is no reasonable, to threaten war. I repeat, it's kind of outrageous thing to do. And yes, they have done it. Because then I was exaggerating on Twitter, they say, But no. And the thing is, what it is exactly about, The Serbian state has treated this territory in the north the whole time, because they had this control of the borders until 2011, and since then there was some kind of exemption made that they can go with their license plate and with their identity cards. Like people who would live there would be living in Serbia. I understand that they feel maybe like this and they want to have this kind of conditions, but it's not the case. And they have been extremely mean on the people of Kosovo when they passed the territory And that's the way, that's the provocative thing, and that's what everybody excited. Because ultimately, let's say in a common Europe, if they have also double citizenship, like many in Macedonia have Bulgarian citizenship, many in Albania has Italian citizenship, many or Greek citizenship, it is actually we could easily diffuse it with a lot of goodwill. We could easily diffuse the whole situation because obviously the Serbs in Kosovo can keep the Serbian citizenship, they have it anyhow, so they can keep this double citizenship. They would be residents, also Kosovo citizens, and some of them might reject their passport or not take it. Then they keep the Serbian passport, they have a Kosovo residence card, and the world would move on, and it would be really not a big issue. And then they can say they feel like Serb, and unfortunately they are living there, but they administratively, politically, the whole thing could be easily solved with a process of double citizenship, and all together in Europe. And after 100 years, everybody will be happy, rich and secure, and we live on in happiness. And even in a very short moment, it would be actually really very simple to solve the whole crisis with European goodwill. But the problem is, and here I explain again and again, and I tweet a lot of times about it, that the Serb state treats the people with the number plates of Kosovo very badly at the border. They don't let them pass, and with the Serbian documents as well. And most of the people in Kosovo today, in 2022, no longer have obviously Serbian number plates or Serbian papers. They have Kosovo papers because it's now 14 years of independence, and obviously a new generation has grown up. It's now 2022. There are a lot of people in Kosovo, they have not been even born at the war. And they are now 23 years and they were born in 99. So they have not learned Serbian. They don't have any papers. They were never living in Serbia. And then a lot of people, obviously, they moved to Austria and to Switzerland and to whatever in the European Union. And they lived there, and then they have, of course, they had their old papers, but then they have started by to go back to a country they didn't never like. They have now Kosovo papers or the papers of the new countries. If they have, already Austrian passport, Austrian passports or Austrian papers, that's all no problem, If everything is Austrian, fine. Then the Serb authorities have to let them pass with the Austrian passport, with the Austrian number plates, fine. But when they have, for example, not managed our very complicated citizenship process, or they have Kosovo number plates, then the problem comes, because the Kosovo number plates the Serbs don't recognize. So when you leave Kosovo, you have to take a Serbian temporary number plate. And that's a bit of an administrative hassle, and also you have to give always corruptive money towards the Serb border police. And they always put the hardest guys against that borders. And they are very corrupt, and that's of course time consuming, annoying, humiliating and expensive. And it's not a reason, and Kosovo is a democracy. I want to explain it. It's a democracy. That means the voters have certain opinions and rights, and the politicians have some reason to care from what the people think about. And it's not by coincidence that these crises are always at the beginning or the end of the summer season, because it's very humiliating and annoying for the people to have, first of all, when they leave with Kosovo cars towards Europe, and unfortunately we don't have any big alternative, because, as I said already a long time, we need a highway to Montenegro to go via Croatia, Serbia is in the center of the Balkans. From Kosovo, the most logical shortest route is to go via Serbia, and there's only one good route. There's the north, which is anyhow, and there are 2 exits from Kosovo, 3 maybe, and that lead all to the same motorway to Niš, to the Corridor 10, to Budapest, or via Zagreb towards Austria and Frankfurt. So that's the problem. And at the moment the people then leave, they have to go through this process of getting these temporary number plates. It's very annoying. And additionally, the Serbs always make it very complicated with the border, so it is very long hours to wait, of many hours. Very annoying and on purpose. And obviously, when you have Kosovo papers, then you have to pay this corruptive money. And then the Kosovo state, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Kurtis. There are some policies attached, nationalism, but he's just a representative of a democratic state, the prime minister, and it is his task to get normal standards, normal treatment for his people. And when they are abused by another state at the border with humiliating and degrading things, he has to intervene, he has to do something. I mean, I completely understand him on that one. That he says this process of number plate changing is a humiliation. And then he says reciprocity. And I understand that. And additionally, the Serbian state since the beginning, since 1999 and before, economically has always exploited Kosovo and is now also very negative in terms of the trade situation. So the custom stamps is also a big problem. And that was the story before, when we had this 100% tariff against imports from Kosovo. And that was, of course, a big annoying. It was in 2019. Haradina still introduced it. And that was also popular, and it has rerouted some of the trade, and it has led to some more economic independence of Kosovo, because there was, of course, trade patterns which were exploitative in the past. Yeah? And then was a lot of outcry against that, and then it was changed, and now it's no longer. But these issues of the discrimination of the people, now Kurti has chosen that topic, and it's called reciprocity, and I think it's some international rule. I explain it, you should be treated like the others treat you. So he asked also for number plates, for Kosovo number plates for Serb. Of course, that should be not the case, because nobody needs to take the number plates of anybody else when he crosses the border. So it's just a question. The Serbs could easily accept Kosovo number plates. I was driving with international number plates through Serbia without any problem. When they let you in at the border, is nobody in Serbia accusing you or throwing stones at you. So it's not like this. Yeah, I had these KS number plates. But now with the Republic, since 2008, they don't want that anymore. And that's the point, because Serbia could easily allow the circulation of Kosovo number plates. Yeah? It's then the own risk of the people, and if there somebody throws a stone or somehow crashes the cars, which they don't do, it's not the wild times of incited violence on the individual level are, to my best knowledge, over on the Balkans. And anyhow, then it's a crime. And the police is also dealing with that. It's now much more advanced than 15 years ago. So I think if somebody wants to go with Kosovo number plates, that's actually a sign of into Serbia. That's a sign of tolerance. It's risk. He will go. He will do it. Should be encouraged, and that's a sign of normalization. So we as EU should support that process, that the people of Serbia can use their number plates in Kosovo and of Kosovo in Serbia. That's the whole idea of the European Union. So the whole process that we always somehow looked away, because every EU official, everybody knew that the Serbs forced the Kosovos to do that, and we never protested. So we said, that's unfortunate, but it's Mr. Vucic and everybody loves him in Brussels, and so we allowed it. And now we are exactly eating the shit for exactly this kind of policy, because Kurti says, but it's degrading, humiliating, and I ask for reciprocity. Yeah? And it's also in terms of their ID cards, that the Serbs in Kosovo should also have a Kosovo ID cards. I mean, the Corinthian Slovenians have also Austrian passports. The ID cards, we don't use less ID cards, yeah. But that's the normal thing when you are in a country, that you are registered with the authorities. And it's not a libertarian dream to have, and in the UK they don't do it. but everywhere in Austria and in the world, in Europe, we do that, and it's absolutely okay to do it, yeah. And that's how we do things, and that's how we administer our societies in Europe. So it's absolutely acceptable for people from the north of Kosovo to be in Kosovo data banks and to be registered with registration cards and to pay taxes. I'm very much against paying taxes, and I'm for low taxes. Yes, yes, yes. No, but I'm actually for taxes in a way. Low. It's never nice, but we shouldn't have these 50,000 people there living with some kind of vacuum. To be registered in Kosovo, to pay also taxes, also property taxes to the municipalities. We could also make some special status for them. I proposed in 2008 or 2006 already. Yes, maybe they pool their money only in the regional authorities. It's all possible, yes. There are many possibilities to regulate such a autonomy situation, which I'm also in favor of autonomy. Yeah. But that's something where not everybody agrees with me, I know that. But I was always for regional autonomy for the Kosovo Serbs in the north, on reciprocity basis for the same status for the Albanians, you know, and I'm actually not for ethnicity-based regional autonomy. That's something I absolutely am against. Regional autonomy, that means Mitrovica North and South united. That would be 5 or 6 municipalities together, but the south and the north united in one region, like we have it in Alto Adige. It's not only Germans living there, it's Italians, Germans and others. They live in one region together, and that's very good, because we should not build Republika Srpska. No, 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 I'm also against any kind of federation they want to do that, yeah. No, I'm for Mitrovica, united Mitrovica, to have regional autonomy, yes, that's what I'm thinking. And they have their representation, Lepo Savic, and there's Supreme Potok, there's other municipalities, maybe also then Vrujdi or the north of Kosovo, yeah, maybe also Budajevo, one region. That's my Bundesland of Kosovo, yeah, that's what I'm in favor. And this Bundesland has exactly the same right like Vranje. Vranje is the southern region, the Klagenfurt of Serbia, yes. And that's for such regional places, yeah, like they have, actually I'm more for symmetric federalism in principle, so I'm for all regions in Serbia and in Kosovo to have the same rights, but we can obviously then in some cases, like in southern Tyrol, they have some special rights for the languages and for historic reasons for the minorities, and that's a statute, a package they have there, and that's something we should then have in that case, if they really push for it, for the north of Kosovo, but not only with no Serb republic up there or something. No, and no association, that's also completely not needed. There is an association of municipalities, yeah. But this northern region has more the feeling of certain feelings, yeah. And we can do a common northern Kosovo region, but not in the majority for Serbs, or not a breakaway region, or not something blocking Kosovo. No. It's also not that Southern Tyrol has the right for the foreign policy decisions of Italy. I mean, no. Yeah, they have, of course, minority rights. Yeah, absolutely, but not the right to block the majority or something like that. And that's the way to do these things and to settle that thing. And then in Sanjak, in beautiful European Sanjak, and in beautiful European Vranje, we have exactly the same. And in beautiful European Pirot, because in Serbia there are several, the Bulgarian minority, the Macedonian Albanian minority is in Vranje, the minority of the Bosnians in Sanjak, that's already free, and then there is also Vojvodina, It's 4, and I have designed some of the other areas. They have, then if the Serbs don't want to have a federalism, they can have 4 regions with autonomous status. It's also completely possible. But what we don't do is any kind of Republika Srpska, because that must be dissolved. Yeah? And we need equality, fairness, and federalism. I think I'm very clear. And we need to support Kosovo in that crisis, and we need also to have clarity that we have supported independence, and that means also the independence based on clarity that they have the right to use their, that actually Kosovo has to recognize, also Serbia has to recognize Kosovo. That's the point of all this, and the rest is just sub-topics ultimately. And of course, that if there's goodwill and we pay 10 billion euros to Serbia, there should be some goodwill, but unfortunately there is not. And that's why I made it very clear that we should also have the option of military intervention against Serbia in case they use military force. Yeah. But I don't think it will be necessary this time. I think it is already settled, and I'm very happy for the settlement of this crisis in peaceful manner. That's what I'm calling, and please, we need a European Serbia based on federalism and on the willingness to accept other people on the basis of peace. So far, so good. Happily, a further crisis will hopefully be avoided. I hope that Ukraine will recognize Kosovo as a result of this crisis, and that also Serbia will think about it and never please threaten war, because I will be the first one to threaten war against Serbia, and that will be optimal. In case you do that, you will be again attacked by NATO, because we have a defense agreement with Kosovo and Bosnia. In case that is necessary, it will be absolutely valid, and that I would not recommend anybody to test our resolve on that one. Thanks a lot. More to come for peace in Europe. Bye.